Welcome back to our program, State of the Nation, where we hasten the motions for national development, of which you're part of that too. When it comes to national development, we have to think in terms of all of us all. What concerns the lowest of Nigerian concerns the highest of Nigerian. And as such, we should be interested in what happens to each and every one of us, along all facets of governance, along all facets of democracy, along all facets of human well-being. This morning we shall be looking at a factor that is quite unbecoming. I wouldn't want to say a situation that breeds miscreants, or a situation that makes us uncomfortable on a regular basis, as we've seen lately. What am I talking about here? I am talking about prison inmates, jailbreaks, and the judicial process. I'll say that again. Prison inmates, jailbreaks that we've been having lately, and the judicial process. With me in the studio this morning is my brother, Barrister Ahmed Tanimu. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Barrister Ahmed Tanimu is somebody that I like. He is a barrister, not just a barrister alone, not just being a simple lawyer. He is a subtle activist. I call him subtle activist because he says it as it is. When he says he wants to share with us his insightful insights, he gives us the nitty-gritty of what transpires in his chosen profession, which is jurisprudence. He will educate us on jurisprudence. But as we speak, we are starting out this morning with prison inmates first. Then we go into jailbreaks, and then we ask, what is the judiciary doing about it? My brother, I would like to give you some stats that I have on hand here. In Nigeria, as we speak, we have close on 70,000 inmates in our correctional centers. Of these 70,000, 70% of them are awaiting trial. It is abysmal. This is a grand anomaly. This is a way, like I said earlier in my opening, this is where we breed miscreants that will come into the populace and then become things we can't handle. That gives us our insecurity. For starters, let's look at these numbers. Educate us. If this is right or if this is wrong. Give us your thoughts on these numbers, please.
Ordinarily, what I would have said, I would have been happy if the number are factual, but we have a problem with data collection in the country. Most of the reports and data that are used in making these reports are not factual because they are under-reported. We have a problem in the process. I have the privilege of working in a bank, and I know even some of the topmost government institutions that you think that you want to rely on those data, you discover that it's just an individual that is sitting down on his desk and cooking the books because the parameter for really assessing it is not there. There's a court just by your radio station here. If you go there on a daily basis, you see that the number of people, and I say daily basis, from petty crime to serious crime, on a daily basis, people are being sent to the prison for remand on cases that ordinarily, some of them are civil in nature, but because of corruption, we've made it a practice that abuse is prevailing everywhere you go. Last time we talked about the raid on the Odilis incident. You'll be shocked to know that all the suspects have been in police detention at the first CID for more than 20 days.
That's true.
And what does the AJAC provide? It talks about taking them to court within 2 days.
That's what the law says.
That's what the law says. And the law equally gives the police the power to detain for 14 days and to renew that detention order that will be granted
Maybe they've renewed it. Do we know?
What I'm saying is, you see, those kind of powers are given for a specific purpose. The purpose is that if you know that you are keeping a criminal and if he's out, he will interfere with the course of the investigation, then you have a right to keep him there. But we put it to a reasonable man. How will somebody that has voluntarily come to give you testimony, somebody that have assets, somebody that have shorty that will bill him, and what is the crime to the nation? Though it's a case of national interest,
yes.
There's nothing stopping you from granting them bail.
Okay.
If people that are well connected are being tried for multi-billion naira corruption trial, if people that have committed murder are given bail, why is this so difficult? That now gives the reason why I said the data might not be accurate. In reality, it is much higher than the figures. Then if you rely with the figure, these figures are unacceptable. Anytime you go to the prison, for any reason that I have recourse to pay a visit to a client in the prisons, I weep practically, because the condition there is inhuman.
Subhuman.
You see inhumanity to man at its peak. Fortunately, there's a judge in this same grade 2 area court in Pape that is late now. The last time we were discussing with him, he said the same time, because judges, especially the magistrate, are expected to engage on routine visitation to the prison to see the situation on ground and know if people are being kept there. Anytime he goes there too, before he passed away, he is always crying. If now somebody on the bench is having that kind of sentimental then you know that there is a very big problem in our hands. And as you pointed earlier, it's a breeding ground. It's not a reform institution any longer, but a breeding ground for criminals.
Thank you very
Somebody
much.
that maybe just had this little issue, you are now exposing him to hardcore criminals, and they exchange numbers, they exchange contact as they are coming.
It will understudy him.
That's the training ground. They understudy him as he's coming out. Now he's now having. Now, if you don't know how to execute criminality, the level of your criminal tendencies will be reduced. But now you have met with sophisticated assassins, terrorists, bandits. You lump you up together, you exchange
ideas and then they teach you what you don't know.
And when they come out, they unleash it on the society. So we are actually playing a game of fire on a keg of gunpowder.
Thank you for that insight, because I was even looking at it that we're looking at 70,000 inmates here. From somebody who is in the jurisprudence, he's telling us that the numbers is not even what is on ground. In other words, let's say hypothetically he's looking at figures above 100,000. I will say that too, because if I factor in the element of mathematics, in terms of the jailbreaks we've had, there is no facility that has less than 3,000. And we have multiples of them all over the country. So that goes in tandem that what we are doing, in actual fact, is we are bloating up the level of inmates. And as such, we are doing ourselves a disfavor by making, like he rightly said, turning what we call correctional centers into breeding grounds for banditry. I would like to cite you an instance of what happened in Lagos. There was an armed robber, a particular armed robber. I don't know what has happened to him yet. Maybe he's dead, maybe he's on death row, who takes delight in killing policemen. When he was apprehended and he was asked, he talked to the press. He said what happened to him that made him a criminal was something very minor. He fought somebody in his area. As a young man, you know, there's that element of adrenaline in them that makes them want to youthful exuberance. And then he hurt the guy so much, the guy didn't die, but there was blood. And because he didn't have anybody, he went to the station, he was taken to court, and before he knew it, he was in prison. Then it was prison. This boy was there for 2 years. For what was called, I guess you guys call it Afri, when two people fight. It's just Afri. He was there for 2 years. By the time he left the place after 2 years, he had become a hardened criminal. with a lot of bias against the police, because he said the police will have been able to listen to him enough to settle the matter on that local basis and then set him free, or probably chastise him one way or the other. But the thing is, since we have somebody in the judiciary here with us, I would like to take him on by asking him a question. But before I do that, I will run an inference into what the Vice President, who happens to be in the jurisprudence, said earlier a few days back. And he said the judiciary must address the slow process that it has found itself. What I want to add to that is the element of how on earth will you, as a magistrate, not be able to set a boy who's sentenced, if you sentence him, it's going to be for 2 weeks or 1 month. Why did you keep him for 2 years and keep bringing him to court and taking him back, bringing him into court and adjourning his cases? Why doesn't that happen ab initio? I believe judges should have that. They own the courts. Within the ambits of the law, they own the courts. Why don't they let people like that go?
Thank you very much. If you look at, it's a complete process. For you to prosecute a matter, it has so many facets.
Yeah, of course, yes.
You look at, there's those on the bench, there's the police, the people on the prosecution team comprising of the police, DSS, all regulatory agents, security agencies that are empowered to prosecute cases, the Ministry of Justice.
That's right.
Then you now have the defense attorney.
That's right.
And everybody has a role to play in the administration of justice.
Okay.
So you now look at, we have the issue of our courts are overburdened. Yes, our courts are overburdened. You have
Is it a matter of courts in itself or the personnel in the court?
The court in itself, not the personnel.
Because
the personnel as well too is bloated, in the sense that you employ things that could be automated. You now have myriad of bloated number, adding no value. Judges that are supposed to now add value, and which I believe we have sufficient resources for. But because there's a system that tends to now not to make everything not to work in the country, you ask yourself, there are a lot of competent, independent, patriotic lawyers out there that are desperately wanting to be on the bench, and they will never be employed. Yeah, it's so restricted. So now I have sympathy.
Is it a quota system? Is it a system of the...
It's a system that maybe we want to see some certain people have
cornered that...
So now the employment is not open. Before now, it even used to be was that it's only those that are affiliated to the sitting judges that will end up being employed. So now where is the room for competency? Where is the room? And it's not about, you are not looking at it that it's the judges' fault. Even those in the executive, the influential Nigerians, people want their children
to become
judges. So it means for you to be a magistrate, for you to be a high court judge, for you to get to that level, you need backers, you need sponsors, you need godfathers. Then where is the place of competent lawyers that could help in this person? A lot of judges, people don't know. We have the case due to the volume of the work that they are saddled with.
Yes.
Some they write in they take hands to write notes. It's not helping matters. So you have sympathy for them, and at the same time, for me, I don't have sympathy for the system, because I believe that judiciary should be able to employ enough judges, create enough courts, so that you now have speedy adjudication of cases. As the cases are coming, you have a track immediately. You look at the facts in issue, the argument put forward, the evidences, and all of that. You'll be able to dispense justice as quickly as possible. For minor offenses, there has been reform in the administration of criminal justice that allows for punishment, such as sweeping the market, community. So all those things have been inculcated. But as I said, you look at the people on the bench, you look at the people that dispenses it. Number one, the issue of fatigue naturally will come in, because they are overloaded with so much work. And you ask, why are we not employing more people to the bench? Why are you not making the recruitment process to be open, to be very transparent, to be able that anybody that
we can have
you
more
can
astute people.
astute people on the bench and the dispense. There's some, you know, if you are working and you believe in what you are doing, you have a passion for it. But if it's because you don't have an employment, or you have a relative that works in the National Judicial Council and you just find your way to the bench, then you good thinking, good will give you good product, and you have bad thinking and you call it a bad product. So it affects the slow pace of
as complained by the vice president.
Yes, and
let's go ahead from there, because hypothetically, I believe in motive. Everything in life has motive behind it. I am beginning to think there is a cabal that is interested in making money from the number of inmates, because you factor in the element of feeding them. I wouldn't like to go into this. There was a time the Ministry of Correctional Service brought in their budget and they were asking for money for the feeding. I can tell you this, the money that is used for feeding these people is higher than what they can use in feeding themselves if they are on the street. Not minding the fact that the food is substandard. So I am beginning to look at a situation where the more people we have in our correctional centers, the more money we will force the government to bring for us to feed them. What do you think about this kind of a scenario playing out?
Ordinarily, it would have been the case, especially if you take a climb like in America, where you have private investors that owns prisons. So you make the argument that the more inmates you have, the more money. In our own case, it's not so, because if you look at it, that amount that they put there, the numbers are actually higher than even the numbers they are putting. And in reality,
that would be to their disadvantage. How would they feed them?
Because they are not feeding them. When you say substandard, there is no standard in it. When they are taking eba, for example, is as watery as anything you can think of. The soup is just mixture of maybe oil and salt and Maggi, and those people are living worse than animals. I can tell you that for free. So for some, and I keep wondering for those in the helm of affairs, like the former president Olusegun Obasanjo, some governors and
who
some
have been in prison,
and they are out. I think there's this kind of feeling that the moment you are out, you always believe that you will never get in there, and it doesn't concern you. But innocent people have been there. You could be a victim of circumstance. You are driving your car and you knock down somebody. Before you know it, the police will arrest you. Before you know it, before the investigation, I want to know the level of your culpability, you can be remanded in prison. So it means an ordinary Nigerian, a youth, a successful businessman, something can happen and he will find him in prison. And that same conditions are there when he comes out, he has completely forgotten what you meant. So talking about the corruption in terms of the feeding, as I said, there's no standard. So we will not say it's substandard. There's no standard. What they give them there is worse than anything you can think of. If you go to the prison as a journalist and you want to go in with your phone, they won't allow you. The reason is simple. You will not be allowed to capture the horrible and gory state of most prisons. It's terrible, it's horrifying, and the Nigerians really need to look into it. You look at the health hazard there, you look at, apart from being a breeding ground which we are content for criminals,
the judicial process
now you now look at what is the health situation of the inmates, what is the, because now they eat poorly, naturally they are susceptible to various crimes. Then you now look at the overcrowded nature of the people in there, the hygiene consideration, and it will shock you. It's everywhere. Go to every you have police station in Papi, you have police station in town. You go there. The stench that comes out is a reflection of what we are saying. And as civilized people, as human beings, are we justified in treating? So Nigeria as a country, we lost it when we don't place value on human life. just as I was telling you off here, I was off camera the other time. Just this Sunday, about 25 people along the Kaduna Abuja axis were kidnapped. Some were killed, and today is nobody. 2-3 days down the line, it's just forgotten. A count. Forgotten is a normal count. It is 25. The only prayer most of us do now is we pray that we are not a victim of the situation. We try as much as possible to avoid being that. But it's inescapable. Somebody you know, your friend, you know, your family, circumstances beyond your control will force you to still ply that same route. Then now imagine yourself as a victim. As a country, I can assure you, Nigeria, the African race, we've lost that touch of humanity. We lack empathy. That human empathy is no longer there.
Let me put in another factor into it, because you've been able to educate us that there are a lot of other factors. The judicial process is there, the health of the inmates is poor, the feeding is poor, the bloating of the numbers all culminates into a situation that is subhuman.
Sure.
That brings me to one other factor we're going to deal with: jailbreaks. Don't you think that the moment we breed them into criminals, the moment we make them live subhuman lives, the moment we don't give them the right access to the judiciary, that they are ready to do anything, even die in the process? And in some cases, don't you think that culminates into jailbreaks?
Absolutely. In fact, the correlation is simple. If somebody knows that his life is worthless, the society that, for maybe is a victim of circumstance, and the society has transformed his life to be worthless, he has nothing to lose, nothing, he doesn't have anything to live for. Automatically, it means he can do anything.
Yes.
It's not only that, it's not only about, we shouldn't only fear about jailbreak. Now, this is somebody that he knows that if he's captured, maybe after he's apprehended,
he's coming back
and he's going to be sanctioned and punished more for even he has committed a new offense for even breaking, and still they are willing to take that risk. What would be of such kind of a person if he now gets to the free society? It means he's going to unleash
mean
human being. He's going to unleash that. I'm not an advocate or supporting criminality, but there are better ways of punishing, of sanctioning that could be reformatory. What we have at the moment is defamatory. You make them beasts, so to say. As they are coming back, they are not reformed. They will do exactly what they have done. They will exacerbate it.
Time is not on our side, my brother. That has been my brother, Dr. Barrister Ahmed Tanimu. He has been able to give us insights. The insights that cuts across the human being, the subhuman status, the judicial process, how we can improve on it. And honestly, this affects us all. It affects us all. Until next time, I will say, keep faith. Thank you for viewing.